Hello, this is Yogeshwar again, and I'm back with another video on Saturn Transit 2014. And in our previous videos, we did discuss about how Saturn's transit is going to affect the zodiac signs of Aries through Scorpio. And this is the ninth in the series. And I want to rush this as soon as possible because it's October now, November is around the corner. And on November 2nd, you'll see the transit happening for the next 2.5 years from the zodiac sign of Libra to the zodiac sign of Scorpio and how it is going to affect all of us. So, like I said, I'm trying to rush this so that people should be prepared and be ready as to what the effects of Saturn will be to their respective moon signs and the ascendants, and also so that they can take necessary required remedies and precautions for this major transit which is happening. As you know that Saturn is a slow moving planet. It goes through the entire cycle of the 12 zodiac signs through approximately 30 years, and it stays in one zodiac sign for 2.5 years. So it's extremely important for all of us to make sure, if it was a transit, say for a planet like Moon, and we consider Moon as a planet in Vedic astrology, as you all know, then of course Moon stays in one zodiac sign for approximately 2.5 days, 2.25 days rather, and moves and jumps to the next zodiac sign. So we don't have to worry too much. But here Saturn, it stays for 2.5 years. It becomes imperative for us to know as to how it is going to affect us. So for the zodiac sign of Sagittarius, and especially for the moon sign of Sagittarius, and I've already explained in my earlier videos that the moon sign should be given more importance as far as the transit is concerned, because that's what the ancient scriptures have described. Look at the Gochara, as it is called in Sanskrit. The name of transit is called Gochara for people who are familiar with Sanskrit. The Gochara or transit should be seen from the moon sign. Of course, the ascendant also should not be ignoring this. So for this video, people both for the moon sign of Sagittarius and for the ascendant of Sagittarius should look at the effect of Saturn transit on November 2014, which will stay there approximately for 2.5 years. So once again, Gochar has to be taken into consideration more importantly for a moon sign. So for the moon sign of Sagittarius, we see here that the transit of Saturn will go, Saturn is going to transit from the zodiac sign of Libra into the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And as you see on the screen, this will start the Sade Sati period for the moon sign of Sagittarius. And Sade Sati is the 7.5 years dreaded period of Saturn, which happens when Saturn moves into the 12th, the 1st, and the 2nd from the moon sign. So here, as you see, that it is going to be moving into the 12th zodiac sign from the moon for Sagittarius moon sign. So it begins the difficult period of 7.5 years. So what effect will it have for people for Sagittarius moon signs? And of course, like I said, look at it from the ascendant sign as well. So it is moving to the 12th house. 12th house is a house of expenditures, vyaya, which is expenditures, whatever is going to go away. So that is going to be extremely challenging, especially since it is a Sade Sati or a 7.5 years period. So be extremely careful. This will mark the beginning of the 7.5 years era, starting with expenditures or anything which you may lose, something which is dear to you, which you may lose. So of course, like I have mentioned in my previous videos, do not worry much about it. Look at remedies, go to an expert Vedic astrologer and ask for remedies, and because remedies can take care of it to a great extent, I would say. Now, as far as the aspect of the 12th house Saturn for Sagittarius moon sign, and even for the Sagittarius ascendant is concerned, Saturn is going to also aspect the 2nd house for the moon sign, especially because again they are into their Sade Sati or the 7.5 years of dreaded period moving from one zodiac sign to another. So the aspect of the 12th house Saturn here, starting from November, will be on the second house. Second house represents family and wealth, and that also has to be taken into consideration, and one has to be extremely careful about family affairs. One has to be very careful about protecting one's wealth. And this is a very challenging period because Saturn is just entering your 12th house from the moon sign. So be very, very careful in terms of, buying a property, or even for wealth related matters. Be very careful signing any contracts, any major deals. Do not get into it. Normally I prescribe people who are under the Sati period, or the 7.5 years Saturn dreaded period, not to indulge in any major activities related to starting, say for example, starting a new venture, buying a property, venturing into risky propositions. Very, very careful. Be very careful. Another aspect of the 12th house Saturn will be towards the 6th house, which is not going to be that challenging for the ascendants of Sagittarius, and more so in the case of the moon sign of Sagittarius. And people who are not familiar with what a moon sign is, look at your birth chart, your natal chart, your Rashi chart, and you will see that the moon sign is one where the moon sign is Sagittarius when moon is placed in number 9, or the Sagittarius sign. So look at it from that point of view. The 6th house aspect from the 7th house aspect, rather, from the 12th house into the 6th house is not going to be challenging. Rather, in the transit, as per the ancient scriptures, it is considered to be okay. So I would not worry much about it. But once again, since you are entering into your Sade Sati 7.5 years period, the aspects also can be sometimes difficult. So don't think that if the 12th house Saturn is aspecting the 6th house, it will not bring problems related to diseases and enemies. So be very careful on that aspect as well. And also from the 12th house, it is aspecting the 9th house as well. And now 9th house is the house of luck, which means that one has to be extremely careful. Long distance travel. Be very, very careful in undertaking any long distance travels, meaning which you have to be careful and making sure that your travel is safe, and you have to take all protective measures. And once again, go to your Vedic astrologer, do your remedies. Whenever Saturn transits, Saturn is an extremely karmic planet, as we know. So it brings with it a mix of good and bad. And it's not always good, or not always bad. So if you look at it even from a Sade Sati's point of view, 7.5 years period, of course, it's a very challenging period, which the moon sign of Sagittarius people are entering into. However, it's not going to be completely bad. Why? Because of course it's aspecting the 6th house, which may not be that bad, and also its aspect, of course, on the 2nd house will be challenging, and the 9th house will be challenging. And once again, look at your Sarva Ashtak Vala, or Sarva Ashtak Varga Bala, and Sarva Ashtak Varga points, rather, not the bala. Look at your chart, your Ashtak Varga chart. People who are not familiar with Ashtak Varga, please look at my video on Ashtak Varga. You will see the Sarva Ashtak Varga number is the number which is the total added number of a zodiac sign. In this case, you will look at the Sarva Ashtak Varga number or points of the zodiac sign of Scorpio. And in case that number of points, the total points, which meaning that the Ashtak Varga points added for all the planets, not just Saturn, that is the total points, which is the Sarva Ashtak Varga points for Scorpio, has to be looked into. And in case those points are more than 28, then of course the Sade Sati period effect is going to be felt a little less. Of course, if it is less than 28, the effects are going to be much more. And in case it's much more than 28, then the effects are going to be felt less and less. Of course, you have to remember still, regardless of the points, it is a 7.5 years period. It's going to be extremely challenging. So please go to an expert Vedic astrologer, get your remedies done, especially for the Sade Sati period. And for the entire 7.5 years period. So right now we're just discussing about the first 2.5 years, which will be the Saturn transit into Scorpio. Another thing is, look at your Ashtaka Varga points as well. Now, Ashtaka Varga points is not the total number of the Ashtaka Varga for that particular zodiac sign. It is just that number which is related to the planet Saturn. And if you look at the matrix right in front of Saturn, you'll see under Scorpio there's a number. If the number you see is 4 and above, then of course the difficulties faced by you under this Saturn period which be much less as compared to if it is less than 4, which meaning 0, 1, 2, 3. If you see that number of points right in front of Saturn under Scorpio zodiac sign is showing a number which is 0, 1, 2, 3, then of course the effects of Saturn transit, the difficult effects of Saturn transits are going to be felt much more. So be extremely careful. However, I repeat, even if the points are high, do not ignore the effects of Saturn. Some astrologers feel that no, it will not be felt. My experience has shown that yes, regardless of the number of points, even if they are high, the 12th house transit from the moon sign is going to be felt. So once again, do your remedies. And of course, as you know, that Saturn is a karmic planet. It comes as a blessing in our lives because it cleanses us of all our bad deeds which we have accumulated in this life and our past lives. And it kind of comes and blesses us by cleansing us, because if Saturn does not come into our lives regularly through transits, through Satis or 7.5 years periods, or Dhayas, or which is 2.5 years periods, and Saturn main periods, which is the Mahadasha, Saturn sub period, which is the Antardasha, so on and so forth, it does not come in our lives every now and then our karmic burden is going to be so high that at the end of our lives we will not be able to manage that high karmic burden, because in our lives, in our societies, we keep doing stuff which are considered okay from the point of view of society, but may not be good from a Vedic perspective. So, consider it as a blessing. More so, look at the transits of other benefic planets. Say, for example, you have a transit of a benefic planet which is affecting you well, like a Jupiter or a Venus. Then most of these bad effects or hard effects of Saturn's transit can be neutralized to some extent. So don't consider this transit as to be extremely hard and difficult and give up on the next 2.5 years. Look at the other transits which may be good for you, and that, like I said, will neutralize the bad effects of Saturn. Also, you may be running a Antardasha or the main dasha of a planet which is benefic for you. In that case, also the difficult experiences felt by you because of the transit of Saturn into your 12th house from moon can be nullified or neutralized to a great extent. And of course, like I said, I'm repeating myself, go to an expert Vedic astrologer, get your remedies done. Very, very, very important, especially for people who are entering this Sati period, which is the 7.5 years period for the moon sign of Sagittarius. And once again, for ascendants of Sagittarius, also look at this video and see how the 12th house transit of Saturn is going to affect them from the ascendant as well. The effects are definitely going to be felt. So once again, do your remedies. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will recommend subscribe to my channel. Go visit my website. There's a link below, and I will meet you in another video in my next session. Thank you.